Hello guys, Crispy here, welcome back to another video. In this one, my friends, I'm going to be testing the Radeon RX 580 8GB model in Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3 Beta. This one is the XFX GTS XXX version of the card. We are running it with the latest AMD drivers available to it, and I'm not manually overclocking it. I'm just going to push the power limit to plus 20% so it consistently achieves its rated clock speeds out of the box, which is 1366 MHz on the core clock. And over in Tech Power-Ups GPU-Z, you can see all of the GPU specs. Again, this is the 8GB model of the RX 580. It also comes in 4GB variant. Over on the left, we're pairing it with the Ryzen 7 5700G and 16GB of RAM to avoid CPU bottlenecks. And let's get right into it, shall we? Let's go over the settings first. We're playing at 1080p resolution using the minimum graphics preset with variable rate shading enabled and no upscaler at the moment. We're using normal textures as well with an 8GB card that works pretty well. I've already tested it with high textures and it was a little bit stuttery, so yeah, the normal textures is the way to go. It doesn't look terrible on normal though. Alright guys, this is the most intensive map in the beta and it's performing quite well, at least right now. Look at that, it's not really dropping from 60 frames per second, it's not even dropping into the 60s yet, which is very good indeed. Let's try to get a couple of kills here, come on. Oh, whoa, I forgot this is a sniper rifle, okay. Everything is alright. Let's grab those dog tags and get some confirmed kills for our team. Come on. What the heck is happening? What am I shooting at? What did I do? I think I exploded something and killed a guy with it. Wait, look at that. And I also killed myself with it. Anyways, compared to the GTX 1650 that we tested in the previous video, this is a heck of a lot better. Like the 1650 was actually dropping from 60 frames per second consistently in this map. It was getting averages of like 62 frames per second, so it dropped quite a few times below 60 into the low 50s at times, and this one is holding strong with well above 60 FPS the entire time. That's very good to see. It's also an older GPU than the GTX 1650 and a faster one, of course. It competes with the GTX 1060 in performance, and that's a little bit better than the GTX 1650. Although a lot of people, I've seen it in the comments already of many of my videos, chose to buy GTX 1650s instead of the RX 580. Well, if you're one of those people, I am sorry, because you could have had a much better experience with this GPU in particular, alright? It also is usually cheaper than the 1650, so I guess if you want to play the new Call of Duty title, always above 60 FPS at 1080p resolution, the RX 580 is still quite the GPU, my friends. If you can buy it for like, what, 50 bucks used, which it might cost that right now, I'm not really sure. Oh boy, that's another one. I would say it's actually a pretty decent deal, even for like 60 bucks or something like that. I mean, you can't beat the value on the really low end of the RX 580, right? I really think that if you're running something like a GTX 1050 Ti, for example, you should probably upgrade to this. It's like almost twice the performance of that card, guys. And it's very cheap in the used market these days, and you could probably sell your 1050 Ti for the price of what the RX 580 would cost you. So win scenario, my friends. Look at this. 1050 Ti, by the way, would probably get around like 45 frames per second on average, where this is getting 80. Now, this game heavily favors AMD GPUs, so it's no surprise that this is doing so much better than the 1650, given that it's already faster to begin with, right? But yeah, the experience is just amazing here in Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3. Not saying that you should buy the game, because it's pretty expensive for what it is, honestly, but it works extremely well, as you can see, my friends. Alright, let me enable some FSR now, guys, because that will improve our FPS even further, you know, while looking really damn good at the same time. FSR 2.1 in this game looks very decent. It actually looks sharper than native resolution whenever you are using the Filmic SMA T2X, but since we were using the SMA T2X instead of this Filmic stuff, which looks very soft and terrible, although it helps with visuals at ultra settings, it actually is slightly softer with FSR enabled. However, it works kind of like an anti-aliasing here, so it's a little bit less aliased as well. But unfortunately, with this GPU, it's not seeing any improvement in FPS by enabling FSR2. That's really weird, because I expected it to actually work very well, you know? Like, I thought we'd see like 100 FPS average maybe, but that's not really what we're seeing with the 580. Maybe this GPU is just a little bit too old and not really that well optimized to take advantage of FSR 2.1 in this particular title. So now we're playing Rust, which is a bit less intensive than the previous map, obviously, and yeah, it's still very intensive because everybody's running around in this very small space with tons of explosions and shots going on and everybody killing each other. But yeah, as you can see, we are still getting more FPS than the previous one. Kind of the same at the moment, actually. And FSR2 is still looking good, but it's not really improving our FPS by much, even compared with the previous map, you know. So once again, I just don't really recommend the upscaler here with the RX 580 because it did such a good job at native resolution. And just so we can see the actual difference, wait, let me just get this guy. Come on, there we go. Just so we can see the actual difference, I'm gonna stop it here. 95 FPS is what we're getting, okay, with FSR2 enabled on quality. And with FSR2 turned off and SMA82X turned on this time, we are getting 100 and... Wait! It's actually better without FSR with this GPU. I mean, it's a little bit fuzzier though. Like, it's still at 100%. Yeah, so the anti-aliasing coming from FSR2 is actually doing quite a decent job compared to native resolution. It looks a little bit better, although maybe slightly softer, you know, but it gets rid of all of this shimmery that we see, shimmering that we see in the picture at native resolution with SMA82X. So, if you want the FSR, well, you can expect slightly slower results, I guess, which is very weird to see indeed. It's doing the exact opposite thing that it should do. First of all, it's improving the image quality by adding anti-aliasing, or at least it looks like it's doing that. And second, it's actually lowering our FPS with the RX 580. That's so weird. So, well, clearly the way to go is FSR disabled with the RX 580, at least in my opinion, guys. Unless you care a lot about the jagged edges, this is the way to go. We're getting 90 FPS in this particular map, by the way, so a good improvement compared to the previous one for sure. Jesus Christ, can't do anything. How? What the heck? Yeah, it's gonna feel extremely smooth on like 120, 144 hertz monitor. It's not really super high refresh rate experience. God damn it, couldn't get that guy with the melee. Oh my god, the other team is winning by a ton. Look at that, 176 to 78 points. Oh my god, they're so good. I can't really do this, my friends. I'm sorry. This is too hard. It's too hard. That's what you say. Yes. Anyways. 90 FPS, even with all of these things happening, is extremely nice. 71% lows as well. Okay, so since FSR didn't really improve things by much and I kind of want to achieve a slightly higher refresh rate experience, I will utilize some NVIDIA image scaling on ultra quality, and this actually sharpens the image quite a bit and it makes it look pretty decent, you know? Okay, this is the favela map. I'm gonna start counting our FPS and you can instantly see that the image is much sharper when utilizing some the NIS with 35% sharpness enabled on ultra quality as well. But the thing is, the FPS are not really that different from what we saw previously, guys, and this might look a little bit over sharpened for a lot of people. It certainly does to me, probably because I am using a huge monitor here, so I can tell all of the imperfections. But yeah, on a smaller 1080p monitor, it should look okay, you know? Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. There's a guy there, there's a guy there, there's another one there. Come on, what the hell? They're freaking everywhere. Who killed me, by the way? Anyway, if you prefer this sharper look, go ahead, play with the NIS. It won't really give you major FPS boosts, but hey, at least the visuals are maybe a little bit cleaner. I wouldn't say cleaner because it's shimmering like crazy, but maybe it's a little bit easier to spot people with these graphics here than it is with native resolution and FSR as well. So just pick whatever you want. It's gonna work very well with the RX 580 anyways. So yeah, XeSS, by the way, looks a little bit softer than FSR does in this game. It also performs a little bit worse, so I wouldn't really utilize that. That's why I'm not testing it here in this video. Yeah, god damn it, mate. These guys have really high fire rate weapons, dude. I'm not sure if you guys are noticing it, but you can see some frame time spikes like that one on the frame time graph, which is really weird because this game is usually buttery smooth. Where the guy... What? Oh my goodness. But yeah, I can definitely notice it stuttering every now and again here. VRAM usage is at 6.5 gigabytes. It shouldn't really be maxed out. I'm not sure what's causing it, but I was seeing these exact same frame time spikes previously with the high textures. I'm sorry about the gameplay this time around. I'm not sure what's going on. I guess the skill-based matchmaking is just ruining my games now because I was playing very well in the previous videos. So yeah, now I actually gotta be very concentrated, not talking about FPS and stuff, in order to actually do well in these games. It's so unfair. That's something that I really don't like in Call of Duty titles. But I was trying to tell you guys before we got rudely interrupted by a ton of people here and dying and stuff, that I saw very similar stutters to these ones with high textures, and the VRAM was hitting like 6.8 gigabytes on high textures. Then after switching down to normal textures, it was really buttery smooth, as you saw previously in the previous two games that we had. It was very good, with zero stuttering issues, but now we're back to having those little frame time spikes, and this is something that I did not notice even with the GTX 1650, which is a 4 gigabyte card, and I was using normal textures with that GPU. Not sure if this is related to the textures themselves, but I really think it is. So maybe just play on low textures instead to have a buttery smooth experience. Otherwise, this will happen. Things will probably improve whenever the game comes out. But for now, yeah, just stick to the lowest settings. It's gonna have a great experience if it doesn't stutter at all. I mean, the first two matches were really good indeed. Alright guys, that's been it for this one. This last match was pretty bad. I'm sorry for the gameplay. It was extremely difficult for some reason. It also had some little frame time spikes, some little stutters, which is kind of terrible, you know. I did not like that whatsoever, but it will be fixed if you lower the texture resolution to low. It will just look like crap, but hey, at least it won't stutter whatsoever in any map. It did a flawless experience, always above 60 FPS, even at native resolution. So yeah, if you're wondering if you should buy the game, again, price of the game aside and the content and stuff, I know it's an overpriced title, but if you really want to play it on a 580, you definitely can, and it's gonna be enjoyable. So that's been it. Thank you very much for watching this video. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll catch you in the next one very soon. As always, love you all. Bye-bye.